Hey everybody, this week's episode is brought to you by Deep Creek Glassworks. Ornaments, pendants, straws, marbles, wine glasses, and functional glass, all unique, durable, and handcrafted. Support a local artist and visit Tanner at Deep Creek Glassworks. That's www.etsy.com/shop/Deep Creek Glassworks. That's WORX. Their creations are stronger glass than what you'll find in stores, so take it from their hands into your home at Deep Creek Glassworks. And just for our listeners, if you enter promo code SUPERFUN, you'll get 10% off of your next order. Once again, that's www.etsy.com/shop/Deep Creek Glassworks.
Welcome back for another episode of Super Fun Game Review Podcast Go. Find us on Facebook.com/SuperFunPodcast, Twitter.com/SuperFunPodcast, Patreon.com/SuperFunPodcast, Instagram at SuperFunPodcastGo, iTunes at Superfun Game Review Podcast Go. Thanks and enjoy the show.
Welcome back for another episode of Super Fun Game Review Podcast Go! All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. To my right, Harry.
Shall we review an episode? Review an episode we shall.
Oh. Clark? What is it?
I'm holding up a speech bubble from the game since there's no audio.
What does your speech bubble say?
So I guess that was crazy, huh?
And I exist to kill. No one knows anything, except maybe from Harry's. We are doing Final Fantasy 9. Nine. But this is the final of the fantasies. All right.
Finalist.
The finalist.
The finalist fantasy.
The last one. This is the last one.
This
They
is the
never made
last
another
one.
after
No,
this.
that's why they call it the Final Fantasy 15. No, it's
But
9.
9.
But 9.
9. It's 9.
All right. So it is the three of us. There is no Ralph.
Ralph.
He is here in spirit and spirits.
Spirits within.
Yeah. Oh, hey.
Oh,
Final
hey,
Fantasy.
Final Fantasy,
I
yeah.
see what you did.
A terrible Final
See,
Fantasy movie.
That's fucking good, you sock cucka.
Sock cooker.
All right. So let's just get right in. Initial impression.
All right, so I remember seeing this game for the first time a long time ago.
A long, long time ago.
And it was like really late in the PlayStation 1 era. And I had already moved on to PS2. And yeah, because I think this released after PS2 released, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe, I don't know. Maybe I just saw it a little late or something like that. But I was already on board to play Final Fantasy X at this point, and like 9 was just like not even on my radar. And I saw Hamill play it the one time, and I was like, the art direction is fucking absurd. I have no interest in this game. And then I got on a kick where I was like, I want to beat every Final Fantasy game. 9 was one of the most recent ones that I played, but I absolutely loved it. There was there's just so much about this game that just works so perfectly. I'm not going to get into that, but I am so mad at myself for putting this game off for so long.
Yep.
Because there is so much to be had with
Yep.
this title, and I think it's what I think general consensus, actually Metacritic score, it's the highest of all the Final Fantasies.
It is.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a cool little tidbit. And you're
I should probably save some of this for game development, but
yeah. But to let you know, PS2 came out March 2000. This game came out November 2000.
Okay, so PS2 was out at this point.
Exactly.
So it's basically I had probably already moved on, and I rarely go back a generation on consoles. Well, I mean, with the podcast, I'm all over the fucking place.
Well, of course.
But before the show, it was like once I move on from a console,
That's it. It's done.
That's basically it.
Yeah. I'm actually going to follow in your footsteps there. I had this game. I didn't complete it when I first had it, like way back when for the original PlayStation, because PlayStation 2 came around and then my attention was diverted elsewhere. So almost like 18 and a half years later after it came out, then I finally beat it.
God damn, really?
I know. Yeah, I'm sorry not to age everything, but it's been a while.
Nope.
Yikes. Nope. Yikes. Somehow that's the cringiest thing that's happened on the podcast so far.
Tonight.
Tonight.
Yeah,
Come on
tonight,
now.
yeah.
Come on now. Yeah, it's a shame that it took this long to get around to the game, but I'm glad that it finally did happen because I would feel like I was missing out if I were to hear about how everything went and actually being able to get into some of the dynamics, which we will tonight then. So give me it, Clark. Give it to me.
X
Give it to
gonna
me.
give it to you.
X gonna give it to you. Huh?
What my dog did.
Love that song. It's so intense.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. So my initial impressions of the game: a friend of the podcast, Joe, Mr. Mussy Muss,
Joe Muss.
Joe Muss.
Joe Muss.
He originally picked up Final Fantasy IX like right when it came out. He was like super excited for it. Brought it over to my house and we started playing just because I was very curious about it. I had been in love with 7 already at that point, and I used to.
Why don't you marry it?
I used to like mess with Harry when we would talk about Final Fantasy VIII, and I said it was inferior to 7 back in the day. It used to be a big debate in high school and middle school. Final Fantasy IX rolled around, and both times that I played it before we sat down for the podcast, honestly, I got stuck where Garnet gets taken by one of the first bosses, and she's
The plant thing, right?
the plant thing. Yeah.
Oh.
And yeah, I completely just was like, oh, I'm stuck. This is boring. I didn't like the art. I hadn't fallen in love with the art direction yet. And I was just like, I'm good. The only cool character is Vivi. I'm good. And then when it came up for the podcast in rotation, I was apprehensive about it. I was like, crap. I'm going to have to play this. And, I'm just like not super thrilled about it. Picked it up. Loved it playing through it this time. I thought it's an incredible journey. And I do have some problems with it, but we'll get into those. But yeah, it's just I thought it was great once I got past that part that had stopped me from playing it twice. That's pretty early on. It's less than an hour or two into the game. So
Yeah. Well, cool. Let's do some. Oh, Jed, you're the host.
No. You're right on track. Let's get into some game development.
Dope.
Game development.
dope.
That's dope.
Dope.
All right, so as I said, this was released in 2000. Japan was in July. North America was November, and Europe, being the last release, was actually didn't get until 2001. Europeans.
It's crazy that
But
is
yeah.
still a problem.
I know. Like, it's where Japan, U.S., Europe. So it just starts in Japan and just keep going east. And then eventually it comes around.
The Japanese and U.S. releases are almost day and date now.
Almost, yeah.
But Europe, for some reason, is always getting it like 2 weeks later. I don't understand it.
No, especially in like this day and age where it's just like, hey, here it is. You should just get it.
It's mostly Japanese developed games, though. Like they appreciate the American market because of how much we consume their media and things like that.
We really do enjoy consuming in this country.
Yeah, but like
He's a consumer.
oh god, but like Europe isn't as big of a market, so they are like, oh well, it gets there when it gets there.
I think it wasn't, but I think it's starting to at least like there's an uptick. At least where, I don't know how like news and the rest of it goes. Anyway, that's a whole different conversation.
It does take airships a little while to get around to deliver these things.
Get out.
Especially when they're running off of mist.
So, obviously, being Final Fantasy, it's Squaresoft game.
The good days.
Yes, I know. The days of yesteryear. And this was actually the first because with 7 and 8 were a little more futuristic type of setting. This was getting more into like kind of the medieval style of the game, kind of like where the first
The first 5.
The first 5 or 6 came from. Yeah.
Well, 6 was kind of steampunky. It was like its own
Yeah.
animal in itself.
Oh, those mechs. Sorry. Yeah, we have to stay on Final Fantasy 9.
I know.
Yeah. Oh no, we could get derailed. I mean, this is also where they took the time to develop. They started adding. They introduced a couple new features as like active time events. Multiple characters were having different things happening within the storyline at the same time, which was a little. I found it kind of a pain to like have to click on it. It shows you like a 20-30 second snippet, and then sometimes the second option would be there, sometimes it isn't. So I would almost feel like if I'm not clicking one over the other, I'm missing out a little bit. And that's kind of gameplay, but at least it incorporates a little bit. And the Mognet, where you're just sending mails between your Mogs.
It makes you think it had internet capabilities.
Yeah, almost. Like, oh, we're going back and forth. We can talk with each other. It's like, oh, can you?
Let me hook my PS1 up to the internet.
Yeah. And it blows up.
Yeah.
It's the loudest dial-up noise you've ever heard.
Hey, you just pop the lid, put the cord in there, and slam it down as hard as it'll connect somewhere.
It's electronics. Interesting enough, there was a point in time where this was also being developed at the same time 8 was.
Fascinating. No.
How dare you?
It's 2 separate teams, right? It's the A team and the B team, and then the A team eventually took over once Final Fantasy VIII went out the door.
Yeah, I believe so. So they did kind of like coincide timeline-wise of when they were coming out. Just obviously 8 came out before 9. Who would have imagined that if you know numerical values? Holy shit.
I used to know the names of the leaders that did, because I think, damn it, I'm not even going to try.
Of the teams?
Yeah.
Fucking nerd.
But I think the one that did 9 also did 12, if I'm not mistaken. I
don't
do
know.
know this was Nobuo Uematsu's last, like, fully just him doing the soundtrack.
Oh.
This was his last within the franchise.
Huh. I'm sure someone else would be able to give us a little more insight on the soundtrack and music.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's quiet over
Ralph's
there.
not here.
And they did change the ending of the game like 14 times. They
Really?
just couldn't come up with, like, how do we want to wrap this up? So
You can tell.
Technically the truth.
I think they mashed about 13 of those together into that fucking long-ass ending.
All right, well, I mean, there's really not too much else. We all know the story of game development, so let's actually get into the story.
Story.
Taking place on the planet Gaia, the story follows a thief named Zidane Tribal, a member of a thief troupe who is tasked to kidnap the Princess of Alexandria, Garnet Alexandros the 17th. He teams up with her and a team of allies to stop Queen Brain? I never knew
think
how to
it was
pronounce
Braun.
that.
Yeah,
Braun?
we said Braun.
Queen Braun and her ally Kuja from waging a war with an army of black mages. Zidane, with the help of his friends, finds his true origins and ultimately his true love. I mean, that's pretty much like the story wrapped up in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fine.
that's-
Let's just go with
There's
it.
a
a
lot
big
of shit
nutshell.
that
No,
happens
no.
in between.
Question.
Yeah.
Now that we're really getting into the story.
Yeah.
Was it on Gaia, or was that like the other?
Terra is
Terra
the
is
other.
Terra is the other one. Okay.
Is where Zidane and Kuja are from.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember which one was which.
Because there's technically 3 worlds. There's Gaia, there's Terra, and Memoria, which is the weird interlude, like when they're going through and seeing all the memories. That's like its own
Is that
plane
where
of existence.
Necron's from? The in-between?
Necron, they don't really explain where he's from.
Yeah, they don't really
So-
get in too in depth with that.
All right, maybe before we get into any plot points, I was thinking let's just touch on characters real quick. I don't know. I just wanted to run through each one because I think they're really complex characters in this game.
Oh,
I don't-
definitely.
I agree.
Okay, most of them are pretty complex characters. Like, they just have, like, different themes to them, different, like, internal struggles that they're going through.
Yeah.
Describe him in 2 words.
Zidane, creepy monkey.
Creepy monkey.
He had a tail. And it's like he creeped on girls a little bit. He was a little pushy. Just saying.
I don't know. I'm still going to stick to, like, womanizer.
Yeah, I mean, you're not
And
wrong.
2 words. Not that's only one.
Yeah. Womanizer, comma.
The goofball.
That's 3,
hyphenated.
almost. That's
hyphenated.
another 2 words.
Goof.
And then I'm going to say fate.
Oh?
and I'm also going to say loyalty.
That's very good. I do like how you said that there's a lot of internal conflict and internal struggles with the characters, because I think that's pretty prevalent through a lot of the main characters.
It's a lot of growth of these characters throughout the game, too.
There's a lot of character development going from disc 1 to disc 4.
Actually, to be honest, I don't think Zidane as like a main character does that much growth compared to some of the other characters, though.
No, not as much. His kind of
he's still cocky and shit by like the end of the game.
Yeah,
like just kind of.
I know. Again, it's like one of the things that I just want to get my nitpicks out. I have a problem with Zidane.
Okay, all right, go ahead. Since we're on the character, that's relevant. To this.
I don't like that all of his character growth happens in the last 10 minutes of the game.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Literally after you fight the last boss, all of his character growth happens when he's like saying goodbyes to everybody, and he's like, "Oh, you know what? Self-sacrifice is important." Like, there's the building blocks are there through other experiences and stuff like that, but it's him learning that from other people. He learns a lot of different things and how to be a good person and how to be the character that he is at the end of the game from other people.
Well, I would still almost call that more... I would still give that to him where that's still character development. Even though like you can see it where he has the personality traits throughout the game to get him there, and it may seem a little rushed at the end, but I mean, if you kind of look at the... maybe not so much like the first 3 discs, because he's kind of the same, but he totes this one for all, like we need to be there for each other type of thing, and then that's just kind of where he becomes like the catalyst, is where he's like, all right, well, now I don't need anybody. He's the one who puts himself out there for everybody else, but not really so much for himself. And until he's like under that weird kind of like mindset spell at the end where he's just like shoving everybody off like to the side.
Well, so that's the thing. He's not... I don't think he's selfless until that moment.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only character trait of his that he doesn't see someone else do first. Dude, all of his compassion comes from watching Dagger or Garnet, or however you want. I'm going to always refer to her as Dagger.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you do for the majority of the game.
Right. But like he learns compassion from Dagger. He learns what true loyalty is from Steiner.
I'm still going to kind of almost go against you with that, because dude with the big red hair.
Amarant?
Yes. When they're going into the one, I don't know the better way to put it, like the dungeon, where Amarant is basically left behind, and he still goes back and gets him out, and he's already had this past experience with him. It's like, no, we're a team. This is what we do. Where he teaches Amarant, instead of being like a lone wolf, no, it's we are here as a group, we're here as a team. This is the way we do things. And Amarant has part of his own internal conflict and struggle going from, I don't rely on anybody. And then he starts to have a turning point towards the end where he's like, why does he keep doing this? Why he could have, like, he even said, it's like, destroy me, kill me. And it's like, I'm not going to do that. And that was even in, like, I think disc 3 when you're in, was it Aiko? Is that her name? The little girl?
The little girl?
Yeah.
Purple girl.
Yeah. Purple girl. When you're in her homeland and, like, when you're all fighting, it's like, no, this is not what we're doing. I'm not going to defeat you here. So I think there were, like, little elements to his character kind of leading up to it, but it's not so much where, like, it's just because of Dagger and Steiner that he learns it. I think it's still in there, but...
I didn't say Steiner.
I'm just saying, like, in comparison to the characters we're about to get into, I don't think the changes are as
drastic.
Yeah.
No, and I won't argue against that.
So I was just going to say he's a thief character. Like, they do this, like... They have a job system here.
Yeah.
But they're kind of, like, locked job classes. Did you want to talk about a different character than Clark, or...?
You can move on to the next one. It's fine.
Okay.
I mean, I think we run down the list.
Yeah. That's. I'm just gonna say, like, we spent enough time on Zidane. I think we should move on.
There's a lot of characters, which we don't have to go into great detail with each of them.
No, I know. Well, yeah. Let's just keep moving.
It's an important touch. Like, so we'll keep moving down. Garnet, Dagger. You see, she goes from kind of like sheltered princess to where even in the beginning they're tasked to capture her. she wants to be captured. She wants to see what the outside world is like, and she's very naive to the outside world, and that's a big character growth that she kind of goes throughout the game.
Well, I think her biggest thing is she has to step up as a character. She was just like the simple princess in the beginning. Boom, now I got to run a kingdom towards the end of the game. You know what I mean? It's like this responsibility kind of thrust on her. And does she drop the ball? It's I don't know. It's a lot. And I think that was her biggest change. Just going from like a simple girl to, boom, I got to be responsible for all these people. And she's like the white mage / summoner, I guess. Steiner, this is the character. I liked his like little subplot. Like, dedication to the queen. Oh, fuck, she's evil. It's all about the princess.
Yep. And then the thing with Beatrix.
Yeah.
I like that character interaction between those two.
Yeah.
I love. There's this one fight. I forget exactly what fight. I think it was in like the tunnel system where it does like, you know how in the battle they sometimes do like the close-up shots of the characters, and you just see like the Steiner face, and he's just like, no, fuck this. Like, this is how it's got to be now.
Oh,
kind of thing.
It's when
I think it's that when that like thing is crawling.
I know exactly when it is. It's when him and Beatrix stop and leave the party so that Zidane and Garnet can get away.
Yeah.
I think that's when you actually go meet Aiko.
Down the spiral tower. Where
it's leading to the big spider thing that you like climb on, but it's like it's at the top, and then you go down the spiral staircase, and then you go into those tunnels. But like they stop there. I know exactly what you're talking about. And they pan down. And he's like, "No, you're not getting past me."
Yeah, I like that. That's one of my favorite moments in
agree.
This game. It's so powerful, and it just makes Steiner up here as far as characters for me.
I thought he was such a douche in the beginning.
Oh, he is.
Oh,
and
he
then,
was.
And
yeah.
then I was like, okay, he made his change, and now he's like, I'm sticking to this.
Yep.
Yeah. I love Steiner as a character.
I think his character arc from like beginning to end is actually one of my favorites, and he's kind of like, I don't want to say like one of the main people, even though he's very forefront in a lot of the storyline, but I think his story is easy to kind of like push aside, but I think it was done very, very well, especially his interactions between him and the main characters, between himself and Zidane, and of course with him and Vivi. I mean, it's so much respect he had for that little mage. And that was always really neat. Like
Master Vivi.
Master Vivi. He's
Master
like
Vivi.
there was always like a thing of respect with him. And even though, you know, old Rusty came out and he was a little rough around the edges, I think his character arc was actually one of my favorites in this game. Period.
Yeah. While we're on Vivi, the black mage of the group.
My favorite character.
The little guy, which he was only like supposed to be like 8-10 years old, something. He was a kid.
No way.
No.
Less than a year.
Yeah.
Because they shut down around the year mark.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you were to equate him to like child, well, maybe not. I'm just trying to like put him in like human years where
He was like a
he
teenager.
Yeah,
essentially.
maybe.
Yeah, I guess. He has the most traumatizing experience throughout the game. The one scene when you're flying on the airship and he just watches the black mages fall like through the clouds to their death.
Yep.
It's just like, and then he immediately goes into trance that next battle because of the emotion of it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just like, that was another like super powerful moment in this game.
I think Vivi has one of the most incredible emotional journeys in the game, because his whole thing is, who am I? And then once he finds out who he is and the timeline that he's on, because Vivi's different from the regular black mages. He has a little bit longer than a year, but he was around before he met Zidane. He was around for a little while because he had like the whole grandfather figure and things like that, who was also Kina's grandfather. I don't know if you picked that up.
Yeah.
So like his origin is unclear because Vivi was not made by Kuja.
It is, because I don't think they ever really dive into that. Like,
right.
Is he artificially made?
Right. The only thing they say is he's the prototype. So what's interesting about Vivi too is his story is all about dealing with your own fate in that you will die eventually.
Or your mortality.
Your mortality, yes.
Yeah, and knowing that, like,
as a non-mortal, it's dealing with mortality, and I think that is such a cool fucking thing. Like, I plan on having a, like, video game sleeve. I'm gonna start that probably in the next 2 years here on my leg, and Vivi has a part of that 100%. His character arc and just the things that he goes through and how he deals with everybody, and he's just and he's just immediately no, I don't care that they're all gonna die in a year. I need to get all the black mages to realize to not be bad people.
Yeah.
And wake them up. That shit is incredible to me. That, I honestly, I think Vivi is the best part of this game, 100%.
A lot of people would agree with you on that.
Yeah.
He's an iconic part of this game.
He's also the saddest part of the ending. Saddest part of the ending of the game.
Yeah.
I would think he's one of the saddest characters to follow through the entire game.
He doesn't catch a break.
No,
No.
he doesn't.
No.
He goes through so much shit. He goes through so much anguish and whatnot. It's it's tough to be Vivi in this game.
I like while we're talking characters when remember when you're doing the hunt in the town where you're earning points and you're trying to compete, and you see him just getting chased through the town, it's hilarious, absolutely hilarious.
Laughing at a mage child being chased by a beast. Man, you are a heartless bastard.
I thought it was really funny at the end of the game where Puck runs runs into Vivi's kids.
Yeah, at the end.
Yeah, at the end of the game. And he's just no, I'm not Vivi. Wait, why'd you call me Vivi? I'm Vivi's son. And I was just oh my God, he figured out how to replicate himself. I thought that was such a cool thing, that, and I mean that's really it speaks volumes to me, especially as a parent, because I've passed on my DNA. So no, you literally don't understand until you've done it. But I've passed on my DNA, so I'm comfortable with my mortality 100%. If something happens to me, I know Odin is alive and well and things like that. It spoke to me a lot as a parent to see him have the kids, even though it's probably just a weird cloning replication ritual, whatever. But that spoke to me a lot.
The black mages do have wands.
Apparently.
One of my personal favorite characters, Freya. I like her story's not as elaborate as some of the other ones, but just her trying to, I guess she thought he was dead originally.
What was his name? I can't remember
his name.
No, but he was a legendary fighter of her people.
Yeah.
Basically.
And then actually found him after she was she's kind of depressed over it most of the game.
Well, she doesn't find him. He finds her.
It was at the wind place, right?
Yeah.
But anyway,
once Burmecia fell.
Yeah. But then just to find out that he has no memory.
Yeah, no recollection of
it's
her at all.
Giving up hope. Oh, look, he's here. Oh, and he doesn't remember anything.
Yeah.
It's just I think she collapses a couple times because of it as well. Also, when we get to music, her town music, with the rain and everything, favorite song in the game. I think it was an organ or what song I'm talking about?
Yeah, we'll get that.
Okay. I know we touched on Amaranth real quick. I know a lot of people say he's the second thief. I kind of see him as more of a monk.
Yeah, he's totally a monk because he has the improvised weapon.
He has the chakra and everything.
Yeah.
Which is a staple of monks in Final Fantasy games.
I think he's easily the weakest character in the game. In terms of
character development?
Character development.
He's almost not needed.
Yeah, he learns to not be a loner, kinda. Because even at the end of the game, he's just we shouldn't stay here. He wants us to go, and then walks off by himself.
You know, I think they put him in because that trope of a character appeals to a lot of people. The dark and the loner,
the edgy guy.
Yeah.
I just do things by myself. I don't need.
I think a lot of people like that kind of character.
Yeah.
I think that's why they put him in.
The giraffe with dreadlocks.
Yeah,
that guy has the longest fucking neck in the history of Final Fantasy characters.
Not gonna lie, it's for the first bit that I actually had the game, I thought he was a rooster.
Yeah, I thought that too.
I thought because there are anthropomorphic.
It's giant cocks strutting around.
Yeah, I mean, where it's basically animal humanistic people. It's not out of the realm of the actual game itself. So I thought he was a rooster. I'm oh shit. And now, not actually until playing this round, I'm oh.
Yeah, when you look at the cover on the game too, the way it's angled, his character model on the case, it looks like a rooster.
He really does.
But it's actually him facing the other direction. kind of thing.
Because he's such a loner.
Yeah.
I'm such a rebel. I'm by myself. I do my own thing.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of him, and I'm just going to roll into the other character I'm not a huge fan of, and that's Aiko. Just not a huge...
I didn't really utilize her in party situations.
She's like a different type of white mage. Maybe, I don't know, maybe time mage instead.
Something,
I
yeah.
think she has like regen and
she does the
like
regens and the haste.
Yeah.
It's like, you need someone to give carbuncle? There you go. She's a carbuncle character. Which is
kind of like a time magey thing. They're like the accessory spells kind of thing. But she has like white magic as well, and can also do summons. Like she's very similar to
Garnet.
So they're almost interchangeable.
If I had the option to, I did not roster Aiko at all.
No, not really.
I thought her character was like really just like too bubbly and annoying for what was
happening.
happening.
Well, that's another character.
She was a child.
That's another kind of trope that Final Fantasy franchise
they love their fucking
kids,
man.
Yeah, absolutely.
That kills games for me.
Absolutely.
When there's there's a great RPG called Lost Odyssey, and there was a section I got to where you're playing and can only play the two kid characters. I stopped fucking playing it 50 hours into the game. I was like, fuck this. I'm not doing it. I literally can't fucking stand them.
I guess Quina is the last character.
Quina, yeah, which
love.
I don't know. Yes.
Love the character.
I know.
Awesome.
I know it. It sounds weird, but I mean, it's never really specified where it's like him or her. You know, this was one of the first characters. There was no gender. It's just like it was either he, her, them. They was just kind of.
I think they used different.
They did.
No, they always used S/HE.
Okay.
So it's either he or she.
Well, that's what kind of meant. Like they.
Yeah.
But
they didn't
I
specify.
Think, generally speaking, it's considered a male.
I read the opposite.
I would almost
generally considered a female.
Pretty much from anything I found, consensus seemed to be kind of like 50-50. And then some of them were just like, you know what? It's Quina. That's it. That is the character. That is who they are, Quina. Which might be a little bit ahead of its time. You never know. I mean, what other thing where you never know? It's like...
I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be a sex either, because technically it's a non-binary fucking species.
Exactly.
So like it doesn't matter what it is.
No.
Like
the one thing, like I don't know if you noticed about this, but certain scenes that character was in, it almost felt like they didn't write proper dialogue, or it was like kind of squeezed.
It's because they're optional.
Yeah. So I don't know, but although they do have that marriage scene with Vivi at the one town, which is good comic relief for the game.
Yeah.
When we get to gameplay, though, I want to revisit that character a little bit, though.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very unique.
Yeah, Blue Mage.
Yeah. So I think that pretty much covers characters, right?
For the most part. I do wish you had a little more time and could actually utilize Beatrix a little bit more.
Yeah, Beatrix is awesome.
She was badass at first as a boss.
The patch over the eye and everything.
Oh yeah. Oh, she was hardcore. Like she did not fuck around. She was obviously like one of the toughest people you fought off the bat. You could not beat her. Like she just slayed you down, and then you actually got to use her a little bit more. And it was at least knowing ahead of time, don't actually put gear on her because it's not going to matter end game. But I wish she was around a little bit longer. I liked her character arc also, going from I am the Queen's Guard, I am like the head of military, this is who I am, and then things are not as they seem, holy shit, I've been duped, I have to do the right thing. And then by the end of it, there you go with like, you know, the storyline between her and Steiner. You finally got to see a little bit more of that.
I like that whole passing in the note thing that goes on in the castle.
Oh yeah, where it's
is that a side quest or is that part of story?
No, that's part of it.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
But like, just I don't know, just to see that whole come
go from like Echo to Zidane, but then Zidane missed it, so then Steiner picked it up, thought it was Beatrice, and it's just like, who's on first? That's what it was kind of like. Oh, everybody
first
thinks
baseman. I mean, it's typically how baseball works, right?
Get the fuck out of here.
Should we start hopping into some story beats?
Yeah, let's get story beats.
First one I just want to touch on. I have two real quick points. I want to kind of rapid fire some of these things. Leaving the woods when it all petrifies. There's the one character, I forget his name.
Blank.
Yeah.
Number one, I wish he was a character that
you
would
could
be in your
use,
party permanently.
other than just being first he was afraid, he was petrified.
That was sad.
was
But
sad.
I also felt a little something when he got petrified. Like,
Yeah.
boom, there's a death in the game. Like, you don't know you can save him at this point, but like, I was like, holy shit.
Sacrifice in the beginning, it's like, here, take this, save yourself, and then there you end. Like it looks back on him, and he's just petrified.
Struggle bus.
I think he's a cool character though.
And you just like his spiky hair.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. I don't know. I would have happily swapped him out with Amaranth or something like that.
I agree with that.
Sure, for the story, yes, absolutely. I wasn't like super compelled by him, but I think he would have been better as like Zidane's friend than Amaranth, who was the edgelord.
Edgelord. So that was a story beat. If somebody else wants to throw one out real quick.
I want to talk about how the Eidolons, is that how you...
I still just call them Guardian Force GFs. I mean, I don't
Oh,
want
I
to put it
summons.
I'm just gonna stick with
Yeah, the summons. Let's do that. Then
Yeah.
the summons, the giant creatures from here on out.
Espers.
Espers. So the summons in the game are really cool, and I really liked learning about them. However, I think most of the beginning of the game is about them and about how they're like this giant fucking force and like a force to be reckoned with, and then they just stop talking about them. As soon as Alexander's destroyed, that ends the summons storyline. There might be some side plot stuff that I missed because I did not play a lot of side plot, but think of a time where they were even relevant after Alexander gets destroyed.
Well yes, because that's where the storyline of Garnet or Dagger and Ico started coming through, was after it was destroyed and they retreated, and that's where Garnet basically kind of learned that she was from, I forget, it was like MC, I know it was like a 2-name place, where Ico was from. And then that's where that story started building up of, okay, you're not really who you thought you were. You know, you actually come from this land. You come from a line of summoners. So I that started coming like afterwards. So it still did touch on it a little bit, but I agree where if this is such like a major plot that they were kind of building up and going with, they could have done more with it.
You know what? I think a lot of it is that like the summons and acquiring the summons was Queen Braun's big thing. That was like her main focus.
Yeah.
And then she dies. Like that was her big driving force, and I think that drove a lot of the plot up to that point.
That's a good point.
I don't think Kuja was on board with the Queen's plan as much as the Queen had that plan.
No,
well, he
had
was
his own
trying
thing.
to get the summons as well.
Yeah, but he was just getting them through the gate thing or whatever he had, the giant eye in the sky. Like I think he was just acquiring, but I think I don't know. I just see a change in the momentum of the story from Queen Braun's death, that it wasn't as focus heavy on that aspect.
Other than trying to like extract that from Garnet, which was her main thing, and then afterwards it was kind of like it was pushed to the side.
Yeah, and I think it switched gear to we have to stop Kuja now. It's not all about acquire. I don't know. That's just...
I just think it's weird that they shifted a gear away from that because they're supposed to be the most powerful force on Gaia.
Oh, yeah.
And then all of a sudden they were like, oh, well, we don't need them to fight the most powerful fucking enemy that Gaia has ever faced. Like, it's just a weird thing, and like, you know where you're following, not Bahamut, Rama?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And stuff like that. Like, I wanted more interactions with the summons. I think the summons are one of the best parts of all of the Final Fantasies in general. They're the most interesting, like just like the summoner lore and stuff like that they build in all these different games. And then to have them go to where Ico's from and then to where Alexander gets destroyed, it like I feel like it killed a lot of the momentum that I had of interest in the storyline, because I feel like it was missing something. They just all, because Alexander got destroyed, everyone became more powerful to fight Kuja.
Well, especially because there was like the big build up to that. I mean, where you're in Alexandria, then all of a sudden here's Alexander, the summon, and here's this monolith of being, and it's him versus
Garland,
and like here's this epic battle, and you don't get that really throughout the game for the rest of it. You have your giant eye that comes down and destroys everything, but that's pretty much Bahamut, I think, comes up once or twice to be used against you or against Lindblom.
Lindblom.
Yeah. So where it seems like it's a pivotal point in the story of here are these summons and it's like the battling of the gods, and then all of a sudden it just disappears and then you barely see it again. It's almost disappointing because you want more of that, because it seems something it's bigger than just the characters. It's more in depth than just the characters, but you get nothing else for it. Like it doesn't give you anything else of these, these monoliths, like compared to man. They just kind of get pushed to the wayside, and then you're chasing around a half-naked dude into another dimension realm. Kuja. I mean, come on. He barely wore clothes.
Okay,
he is wearing like a thong.
Yeah, exactly.
That thong, the thong.
I mean,
so
yeah.
But no, that's pretty much what I was saying. Like, I just thought it was a letdown that they got away from the summons, because I thought they did a lot of really good storytelling with them, and like how you go to like the birthplace of them, and there was this ancient race that like where they were all summoners and things like that.
There's great build up.
Yeah, and then I feel like they abandoned even that part of Garnet's story. Like, no one wants to talk about how Garnet could summon the most powerful destructive forces on Gaia after that. Like, it's just I felt like they didn't cap off that story in a proper way, other than Alexander being destroyed and Garnet and Braun dying.
Agreed.
I will say, and most Final Fantasy suffer from this at like pivotal key moments in the story, like Bahamut, Alexander, and such. They show how powerful summons are, and then you bring one out in battle, and it's like, oh, you did 1,500 damage, which is like a smidge. The only game that really showed force on summons was 15, like when those fuckers came out.
Yes.
Like the all and like the end of like everything, just like.
But you didn't get to pick when they came out.
Exactly,
they came out randomly.
Yeah, and you had to hit certain like criteria.
Yeah, and I thought like that was really cool for showing how devastating they were. But like exactly like you said. In this, it's not. And Final Fantasy in a whole, they used to be like, oh, well, you summon, like, the creature shows up and does this power, and it does, like, no damage, or it misses, or something like that. Whereas...
Or, like, a normal attack does more damage than it. Like, it's not proportional.
Right.
Like, you're bringing out this massive thing.
Well, so in this one, you're not even bringing out the creatures anymore. They started getting away from that, where you're not bringing out the creatures, and you're bringing out their power. So, like, Ramuh never... Well, he randomly shows up in the animation, but usually it's just him throwing the staff down. So it's not like him.
Well,
you know what I mean?
You get... We might... I think we're starting to cross over into gameplay a little bit, but what I noticed happen is the first once or twice that you use a summon, you get, like, the full thing. After that, it's an abbreviated version of that for, like, time's sake, which I will say is... I
think that's something you can alter in the menu. I think you can alter quick or long animation.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
which I think is a good idea, because especially from 8, you had to sit through everything.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I was just going to say, keep it at that. Don't elaborate on it.
No, not so much. Where with 8, you sit through the entire thing. 9, they abbreviate it a little bit, which is good for time sense, because sometimes it can last for a while. They look really neat. Don't get me wrong, but I don't really want to sit through a full minute of lesser quality FMV for what's coming up. That's where we're getting into other topics now, which I think maybe we should...
Yeah, let's stop on summons. I think we should hit some other story beats before we move on.
Okay.
I'd like to talk about the ending a little bit.
Okay.
I think it was a little cheesy with the ending, to be honest. I was... other than like the very end where they're doing... what's the name of the plane? I Want to Be Your Canary.
I think that's correct.
The name.
We're going to have to talk about that more in music.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, but at least I think that's the actual, because there's a theme throughout the entire game where it opens with Zidane's troop is a bunch of thieves. They go around masquerading as theater performers, performing the play I Want to Be Your Canary, and it opens up with that in disc 1, and it ends with that at the very end, where throughout the lines there's a masked figure who's a part of the play, and then at the very end Zidane throws off the cloak. It's still him where you thought he was dead, and then Dagger throws her pendant to the side, runs down through the masses of the crowd, since she's, the leader of Alexandria, she's the queen, and is embraced by Zidane. I kind of saw coming, like, towards the end. I still think that's a fitting end for a Final Fantasy. I liked that. The whole thing between Zidane and Kuja at the end, I was just... Things were just a little weird with that one, and I don't know how I really feel about that, to be honest. It's like he goes off and saying, oh, well, even though the entire game Kuja's trying to kill everybody, and then Kuja's basically on his deathbed, and Zidane goes through the same, like, basically petrified forest that's trying to destroy everything that Blank was captured in the beginning to save Kuja, and saying, you would do the same for me. The fuck he would. No, he wouldn't. What, you feel like because you have a connection because you were both part of, like, this genome thing where you're, you know, just replications of each other? I was let down by that. I just feel like that could have had more of an appropriate build-up if the two of them had a little more, I don't know, in-depth connection, but it felt rushed at the end between the two of them. You guys feel about that situation?
So I think they could have truncated a lot of the ending, like, with the play, because I didn't need to see almost 2 full plays, different plays in the show, because, like, the ending play is not the same play that they do in the beginning. It's a different play. And
what do you mean by different play?
It's not the same play. It's not the same play.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not. Different characters.
Different characters playing different parts, but...
No, different names, too.
I don't know about
Marcus isn't in the first one.
Wasn't Marcus just like a fill-in, though, because they were under disguise? Like, maybe it wasn't the character name, it was...
No, the character of the play was named Marcus.
It was the same story that was done at the beginning and the end. It was the same play both ways.
I don't think it was.
All right, we'll double check that.
Either way, whatever. It was stupid to have it twice then. If it was the same play, it's dumb. If it's still 2 different plays, I think it's still stupid. It doesn't, like, change my opinion about it. It could have been way shorter, and the reveal could have been Zidane literally walking onto the stage instead of, like, having to sit through a whole fucking play.
I agree with that.
And I think that they nailed some send-offs, and some of the other send-offs are, like, real bad for the characters. Like, so what happened to Kuja? Is Kuja dead?
No, you never...
They never fucking address if
No.
Kuja's alive or dead. Because him and Zidane are sitting in the exact same spot when they get attacked by the Leafa Tree, or the Lifa Tree, however you want to say it. So, like, what happened? I'm very curious about that. Like, did Zidane actually succeed in what he was trying to do? Why was he hiding from Garnet if he succeeded or failed in whatever he did? I have a problem with that. I think the game's fucking fantastic and the story is fantastic, but I think they just completely fucked the ending. I really liked that Vivi writes that letter and pretty much lets everyone know that he passed. But again, it's just one of those things where, like, I would have liked actually to maybe see the moment that he's, like, writing the letter, or, like, some actual closure. Like,
yeah.
I want to know if Vivi lived well. Like that's the only fucking character. like seriously though, that's the only character that I had, like, any sort of relation to when it came to this. It's the only one that I had, like, and then for him to be set off with, like, a vague letter was really problematic for me. I loved to see, like, his kids and stuff like that. But again, what happened to Vivi? What happened to Kuja? Truncate the fucking second play, and why couldn't we see Beatrix and Steiner actually, like, embrace? It cuts to black as they're running to each other, and then they're just, like, kind of cordial together. Like, just pay off some of those moments.
I got you with that.
They elongated a bunch of stupid shit, and then they truncated stuff that actually had meaning and impact. And that's where this game falls to me, and that's, you know, like, this game had every potential to be a world beater in my book, and I was all in until I saw that fucking goofy 2 overlay thing to start the ending, where it's Zidane in gameplay fucking graphics and the full motion FMV running in the background, and he's, like, running and they're moving the camera around. That's literally just 2 overlays. That's not all one video.
Oh, well, we'll get into some of the graphics there.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, as soon as that started happening, I was like, this is fucking... No, I knew as soon as I started seeing that, I was like, oh, they're going to fuck this up. Which is honestly, it's a fear that I have every time I beat a Final Fantasy game. I'm like, oh boy.
Where are we going to go with this?
Yeah, a lot of endings to Final Fantasy games are very ambiguous. They just leave you wondering, or kind of like forming in your, like even 15 had that, like kind of at the end, like questionable moments. 8 had that, like Squall alive or dead.
Yeah, like you don't actually get a
10 had
definitive
that.
answer.
Titus alive
exactly, because he just. Yeah.
And if you do everything in the fucking game, you just see him swimming. And it's like, okay, is he in the fucking pool of fucking spirits, or is he fucking in water, like, on the fucking planet?
You don't know. It's like, give me like, some finality to something.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I don't like the way they end a lot of the Final Fantasy games.
It's almost like they leave it open for a sequel, but there's not going to be one.
Because it's the final one.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. So I saw a meme that they were saying that Final Fantasy games have the name Final in the title, and they do not make final decisions for, like, any of their fucking characters.
No.
Unless they die. That is the only way you get a full-on, like, finish in Final Fantasy.
Finish,
any sort of finality
That's all you get.
in Final Fantasy is death. Sorry, that was like my really long rant, but I wanted to get it here instead of in the
you're not
Mubbers
wrong.
Earlier in the week. Like, I needed to get that out about this. I have nothing else to say about story.
Okay.
That was it for me. And it sounds like I'm shitting on it. I loved the story, but like as soon as the summons kind of got out of the story, I started losing
Dead ending
interest. And then the ending, it dropped a lot of pegs in my book.
I mean, I could give Steiner and Beatrice like their final because I'm a guard, something else. I get that, like their own professionalism, but everything else, it's like there's a lot of loose ends that we want to see tied up. We've invested so much time, effort, emotion into these games. Give me something for that, and that's not always met.
Just a quick shout out for story elements before we do move on.
Hey,
there's a thing called Oglops that are a big part of this game.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Pickles. There's these pickles that are a big part of this game. Is it
Oglops, pickles, frog? Frogs are important.
Yeah, frogs are very important.
Yep. Pretty much anything that Sid turns into.
Yeah,
yeah,
and airships.
Airships.
Yeah.
Oh, and
all three Hildebrands.
You know what's another really big part of this game? For like half of it is summons.
Yeah. And with a dash of Chocobo.
And Mogs. Mogs are a huge thing in this game.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
They're the save points.
They have a whole net.
Yeah, we won't elaborate on that.
No.
Yeah, no, I think I'm good on story. Like, I think that I just wanted to mention that Steiner moment and that Vivi moment. Those were like the most impactful moments in this game for me.
Great story, just wish there was a little bit more at the ending. That's all.
It's a solid story.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the best story in the Final Fantasy franchise. I don't
as a whole.
Yeah, I think it's mid-range in the story. It's like a lot of the other elements that really uplift it.
Yeah,
but it's not a bad story.
No,
I'm not saying it's a bad story at all because I think they're. You know what? It's amazing characters in a mediocre story.
I think that's a good way of putting that.
I think that's the way I would put it. Because I love the characters, and there are moments in the game that really make these characters shine.
Yeah,
but overall, the plot is. You could punch holes through it.
They set themselves up to have a lot more potential than what they ended with. All right. Well, I think we touched more than enough when it comes to the story. So I think we should actually get into the gameplay.
Gameplay.
So the gameplay is a style that we're all familiar with. A lot of turn-based with some extra little features here and there. Was it the trance? Is something we're not too, it's something we're familiar with.
It's a limit break.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's a staple of the PS1 generation Final Fantasies.
Yeah.
I personally don't think there's too much in the ways of innovation in this game in terms of gameplay.
No, I mean, it fits the standard of a Final Fantasy game, which it should be.
I like the way you kind of build your character. So each one has its job class.
Yeah.
And then within that, you learn abilities based on the equipment that you have on, which I think that is phenomenal. So you earn your AP towards those abilities, and that's how you learn them. And then you have this sub-menu where instead of wearing that band that makes you immune to confusion. You learn that ability and you plug these points into this grid system. Hey, I want this character to be immune to confusion. I want it to do more damage to bird creatures. And you can't equip all of them, but you can pick how you want to customize that character in that. And then you also have like your abilities that you learn based on that class. Like with Vivi, you're learning fire and ice and stuff like that. And Steiner's learning his like sword art skills. And like they're each learning their they have abilities and these passive abilities, I guess. Is a better way to put it.
Yeah, and like Dagger and Ico, they learn their summons through that sub ability by equipping certain things.
Yeah, basically just like their abilities as well. It's just summoner based. It's simple, but there's a lot of customization you can do with that.
Yeah,
and I really like that, and I've always really liked this system in this game.
Yeah, so that's like the only innovation, and they did it again in one of the games, didn't they? 15 kind of has something like that. You learn stuff based off of your weapons.
I forget 15 at this point already.
Yeah, like there's other games that kind of like use little bits and pieces of that, but like that's the only innovation to the it's not even the battle system, because I wouldn't consider that the battle system. It's like the customization options for the characters are much better, where you don't have to rely on a caster to be like, okay, everyone doesn't have petrify, everyone doesn't have this, everyone, like
there are Final Fantasies where you spend a lot of time putting the buff spells on.
Yep.
Right.
Like you don't have to necessarily do that.
Where in this you can have multiple characters have the same type of thing, so you don't really have to worry about it too much.
Absolutely.
You can customize to the dungeon that you're in.
Yeah. Like, it's like, oh, I'm in a different land. Okay, well, I might need this, this, and this instead of this and this. And it's not just for one character. You can have it for 2, 3, sometimes even like all 4 members of your party.
That was the only way I could beat Necron, actually. I had to get through the Kuja battle with everyone's abilities set to fight Necron. So, like, auto life was always an important one. Auto haste and things like that. Like, I needed to make sure that all of those were on, because Necron's a tough fight.
Oh, that was a pain in the dick.
Yeah, Necron was bad. Took me almost 4 hours of trying to beat him. Again, I didn't do a lot of side stuff, so I was like starting to get kind of low leveled.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's the thing with Final Fantasy games. I always grind way too much because I like the grind. Like typically when I'm in an area, I'll go around, loot all the items. I typically don't go on into the next area until I like maxed out all the abilities I can learn, and then I move on. So I'm gaining X amount of extra levels per area that in typical just progressing through the game you wouldn't obtain.
Yeah, but it becomes so beneficial at endgame to put all that extra time in. But, it's a lot of extra time that you have to put in to, not to say make it easy at the end, but make it less difficult.
Final Fantasies are too easy, in my opinion, with the extra grinding.
Yeah,
with the extra.
It's very systematic, where it's like, okay, I can't beat this, so I'm just going to go fight randoms until I can beat this thing. And it's very much like you gain X amount of levels, you're almost guaranteed to beat something.
Yeah, and you only have to attack at that point. You don't even have to pull out all the tricks and be strategic about it.
Right.
But that's the one gripe I guess I have with gameplay in general for Final Fantasies. This one isn't excluded. It's you can grind to a point where the game becomes too easy. But I like the grind. I like that. Like, I want to be able to grind and have challenging boss fights,
which through some of the grinding,
is that why you try
can.
To hump your secretary at work all the time? You like to grind and then have challenging boss fights.
Yeah.
Wow.
Jesus.
Boom.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, even through grinding through levels, you can come across some bosses that can be extremely difficult and kind of give you that extra challenge aspect, not having to wait until like the final boss, but throughout your development of your characters, sometimes there's some mythical legend boss that's just like way off on the side that you need to be a stupid high level even just to confront, let alone beat, even compared to like the end boss. It's like, what was what was the one in this one? It was like the weird like rainbow bubble looking thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Ozium.
That's
or
really the
Ozark.
only
Yeah.
boss that's in this game
That's like ridiculous
Yeah.
god tier level.
Never played it.
Yeah, it's
side
it's
quest, like
stupid.
end game side quest
Yeah.
kind of thing. That you have to kind of be like max level, have everything unlocked, move everything
That's
like
perfectly.
like
That's one of them.
it's like a
where,
Ruby weapon kind of situation or whatnot.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, where it's like it can be actually more difficult than the actual end game boss, depending on where you're at.
Trances are kind of annoying in this game because you really have no control over them. They take forever to build up, and boom, they get set off in the middle of like a regular fight.
And then you have a boss fight right afterwards.
Yeah.
It's so annoying with that.
Yeah.
I wish there were times where I was like, oh, if I could just like defer this. Oh, it's his turn. I'm just going to change. And then I could go into the next battle with them in trance. That'd be great.
Gotcha.
I think 10 allows you to do that. 10 kind of gives you control over when you're going to use your abilities like that. And I think that was like a big upgrade.
Couldn't you do that in 7 as well? Like once you obtain it, you save it until when you want to use it?
Because you could scroll down and hit limit break.
Yeah.
And then you did it.
Yeah,
It was
that's the way it
was
should have
its own
been.
option. Yeah.
Yep.
Especially for how long it takes to build up.
Yeah.
Like that. Now there is a theme of just slowness in this game. Not only obtaining limit breaks, but the actual battle meter. Like this is the slowest Final Fantasy.
You're sitting there. Half the battle is just waiting for your meters, your gauges to fill.
Like when you first start this game, it's excruciating. Like it is so slow. I instantly turn it all the way up in the menu, like as fast as you can, and it still feels slow.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What else to say about the gameplay?
I played the remake on PS4. Even though I had the game for PlayStation, no idea where it's at, couldn't play the original. So I just bought and downloaded the PS4, version of everything. I didn't really touch them because I didn't want to taint the game, but gameplay-wise, apparently there was like some extra little like bonus cheats like in the corner where I think if you hit the pause menu, there was all of your hits do 9,999 damage. I think one was like fast forward speed.
That's insane.
Like there's one that's like fast forward speed, like the actual gameplay when you're running. Like I turned each on just to kind of play with it to see where it was at.
Oh, no wonder.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it's there, I wouldn't be doing justice unless I tried it out a little bit. There was one where like your actual physical speed was like increased
Did you
by
say
like
actual or asshole?
I heard asshole.
yes, it's bumped up by like 3 times speed, so you're just running ridiculously. One was all trance mode, and then another one was like a super auto haste. Those were ones that were just like available through your regular pause menu. There were more through your regular menu down at the bottom. I think one was max skill, another one was max experience. I know there was a difference where the kind of like regular pause menu, you could use those anytime, didn't mess with your save thing. And then all the extra where it was like max skill, max experience, those were the ones that if you enabled those, they were like true cheats that you wouldn't be able to receive trophies or whatnot. So I didn't touch any of those. I just kind of, there was, I think, a little bit in disc 1 where I dabbled with like the regular ones for like the 9999 damage and whatnot.
First boss of the game.
Not gonna lie, I did. I'm like, let's see. It's like, oh god, but it's like I had it.
I would have left that on the whole fucking game, honestly. Like
It probably
would have made the game
oh yeah,
boring.
for sure.
I kept it on for like 10-15 minutes, and it took away from the game because, like, oh, there's a boss. All right, I'm gonna walk through the forest.
It was one fight, and now it's 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I only played with it for like 36 hours, guys.
38. Fuck you. Oh wait, what?
Another. Sorry, I'm not trying to hit all the. I mean, in general,
Hit it with your mouth, Harry.
In general, I love the gameplay of this game, but I am a completionist when it comes to games like this, and you can only acquire certain items in the game by stealing them from bosses.
Yes.
Yep.
So I spent a lot of time just.
Everyone defend, and then you're stealing the entire
Yeah,
time.
not only like the amount of times I would get trance and I would just waste it because I didn't want to accidentally kill the boss and not get the items.
Or trying to be Queena and eat so you can get the blue magic because they had to be weak enough, but you couldn't kill them. It was like sometimes
Yeah.
it was a...
That didn't bother me too much because you can always get into another fight with those enemies. Though.
True, but only certain enemies had certain abilities.
True.
And sometimes some enemies would spawn a hell of a lot less than others, so it kind of became a little bit of a pain. If you want to be a completionist and get full blue magic, then it...
Yeah, but I mean, the good thing about with that, though, is some blue magic can be dropped by multiple creatures, though. So if you don't get it at one location, you can always get it at a different location.
Very true.
But the boss stealing was... It's one of those just time killers where you're just sitting there and spamming steal and just, I don't know. And there's like 3 items on each boss, like a regular drop item, like maybe like a mid tier, and then like a Uber
weapon or
something like that.
I did find some of the equipment upgrading a bit of a pain in the ass,
like the synthesizing.
Yeah, I mean it was neat that different levels to levels as you were going through the game. Yes, they became more powerful, but sometimes not everything you needed to synthesize the newer weapons was readily available, and maybe that was something I sold before because I needed some extra gil or something I used in something else previous. And
you don't sell equipment in this game.
I didn't sell a single item in this game.
Nope.
No, see, that's where I did. I wanted that gil, so I sold, and then
why did you do that if you had a infinite gil button just quickly?
Well, because
max skill,
because I wanted trophies, so I didn't want max skill.
They added trophy support.
Yeah.
Oh, damn it!
Huh?
So wait, I you didn't say? Did you play on the PS1?
Yeah, PS1.
How did you?
Vita. So I played the PS1 version.
Oh, okay, yeah. PS4 they integrated trophies, so that's why I didn't touch any of those other ones. Like I want trophies. I don't give a shit. I can get.
I wonder if it looks better on PS4.
It does.
We'll get to graphics. We'll get to graphics.
Oh, maybe I was thinking there's a PC HD remake too that I saw floating around, and that looked incredible.
There are points where you look at it and like they really did a good job upgrading this, and then there's several times where it looks like they upgraded the background, or no, they upgraded like Zidane. I'll wait for graphics because there's a couple scenes. There's one big one where you look at it, it's like, this looks fucking terrible.
See, I didn't see any of it in motion because it was like the guide that I was using for some of the bosses just to know what I was getting into.
Yeah,
I was drastically under level. Like I beat the game and Zidane was level 48. Like I was drastically under leveled. They were like, "Oh yeah, like this is like a 60 fight," and I'm like, "Fuck."
Oh, here I am.
I just had to set up my abilities to be like 100% perfect and to make sure at least one person was alive at all times.
Makes me feel like
if you
15 all over again.
If you do it the right way, it's like you almost can gain plus or minus 10 levels worth. Like power wise, power wise,
yeah. Depending, yeah.
Because if you can nullify a bunch of your enemies' attacks, like you're just fucking invincible at that point.
Yeah, Which is where that being able to choose your own abilities and what you want at that time is like hands down one of the best things you can do to actually make this game a lot easier on yourself, even if you're under leveled.
Right.
I know it's something I didn't really touch on in 9. I played a lot in 8 with it. The card game. Did you do anything with that Tetramaster?
Yeah. It's awful in this game.
Yeah, I really did.
I loved it.
Did you?
Yeah, I loved it in this game.
Can't stand it.
I tried to, but I just I couldn't do it.
I won the tournament that you have to go play in.
Oh, nice.
I beat a bunch of the phantoms as you're running around. That was like my favorite fucking part of the game. Was like I love Tetramaster. I loved it in 8 too. Actually, that was the only part. That
I like the one in 8. This one just it doesn't click with me.
No,
because I don't get the reversing. Like when you gain one, but then they chain reaction to take over like the board or something.
Yeah. So essentially the way it works is you have to beat one that has an arrow pointing wherever you placed your card.
So another one, yeah.
Right, and then when you beat that one, it chain reacts to wherever else it's pointing. So you always want to attack middle. Like, so if there's a large group of cards, say if there's like 3, like there's 2 up here, 1 here, if you attack that one, but it has an arrow that's pointing up and out, if you beat that one, it'll chain react to the other 2. I had they track the stats if you go back to the outside of the tournament place. I think I had at least 15 perfect wins where I conquered every card on the board. I kind of got like stupidly obsessed with it. There was one day where I was like, I'm gonna really put in some work on this game, and then I ended up playing Tetramaster for an hour.
No, this was one side game that I just couldn't get behind.
I'd love an app. I'd love a Tetramaster app.
Huh.
I'd pay money for it. I'd pay like $10-15 for a Tetramaster app.
I think it was called Tetramaster in 8 too.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
It was just like it was revamped, like the rules and the way it was played for 9. I forget how it was played with 8, but I remember enjoying it in 8. 9, it was just
a 3x3 grid in 8. And this was, I think, a 5x5, right?
At least 4x5.
I think it's a 4x5 or a 4x4.
Something bigger than 8 because it's 9.
But this also did Tetramaster in 8. I forget. Did it also have blank spaces, like spaces you couldn't place a card?
No.
In this one, every board has randomized spots where you can't place
it's
cards.
Blacked out. Yeah, so you had to beat. And I think because I think in 8 it was. I don't think it was completely omnidirectional. I think it was just up, down, left, right. I don't think it had like the diagonal.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah,
But,
this was like play all over the place, and there was like the block stuff. I liked that. I thought it added some layers to the strategy.
Yeah. Before we get out of gameplay, just because you had so many options, especially towards the end of the game, of who you can have in your party, did you always have that, other than Zidane maybe being the main character, who was like one of your go-tos?
I had always, when I could, rocked Zidane, Garnett, Steiner, Vivi. That was my go-to. I just got to a point with Steiner where I was finding his like top level weapon, and he was constantly doing 5,000 damage for me a hit, regular. And then I also put on and then that was without MP, and I always put MP strike on him. He was like knocking people out with like 7,000 damage.
Nice.
At like level 45. It was so useful. When he would trance, no abilities, he would do 9999.
Damn.
Like he would just constantly like I could get 4 attacks instead of using 3 abilities with the trance, and it would just be 40,000 damage. He was just my boss killer. Anytime he was in trance, I was like, okay, cool. I don't even need to fucking worry about it. Just keep him alive. I would always have Garnett heal him, even if he was in max health, because I knew he was going to get hit. Yeah, Steiner was like my beast.
Gotcha.
And Zidane was like right there too. And then Vivi I just used to handle like any sort of elemental damage. I would figure out which one was the best and just hammer him with it. And then Garnett I would always open up with a summon and then just focus on healing and keeping everybody alive.
I pretty much, as often as I could, mained. It was Zidane, Dagger, Vivi, Freya. Like Freya. I substituted with, I forget his name again, Roosterman. Every once in a while when
Emirate.
I had to, Emirate. But when I could, Freya and her Dragon Strike, it was just gross. Like, she was just like in the forefront, and then I just kept building her up as much as I could.
Yeah, she stayed under-leveled for me because I never really used her that much. I
Gotcha.
used her when I had to, but like when I had the option to, she was not on my radar. I didn't think her abilities were that great because she's like a hybrid Dragoon / Red Mage. Like she had like some like, mass heal, like a mass hot, like heal over time. Raise Wind, I think it was. But like when I beat the game, she was still level 35.
Oh, wow.
Like I had that big of a disparity with my group.
Gotcha.
I think my main group was Zidane, Steiner, Freya, and I kind of interchanged the other one. It was either like Quina, Vivi, or Garnett. I really didn't play with Amarant or Aiko that much. Quina, I did get all her blue magic, or his whatever. Yeah.
They're blue magic.
That character can be one of the most powerful healers if you do it right. There's like certain abilities where you can just suck all your MP back and then just pump out your most like massive healing spells. But it's like, I like the versatility because you can also have damaging spells going if you don't need to heal.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's why I preferred that character over some of the other, where Vivi is like very concentrated on damage. and Garnet very concentrated on healing.
Where, yeah.
This one, I have options, and I like that. And just like after doing all the work to get all that blue magic, you want to utilize that character.
Oh, yeah.
To get some kind of payoff from it. So
I helped you get here. Now let's see what you can do. Go get him.
thank you for recapping what I just said, Steve.
You're welcome.
All right, I'm good.
Are you? All right, cool. Let's move on into some graphics.
Graphics.
Before I lose the thought, what we were talking about before with the remastered version on PS4, I will say through the regular gameplay itself, there's definitely a noticeable difference between the original and the remastered.
Is it remastered? Is it considered remastered?
I don't know if it's necessarily considered remastered, but you can tell it's a lot smoother. For the majority, it's like less pixelated.
You know what I bet they did? They made it so it would look okay on an HD TV.
Yes,
They
for the
upscaled it.
regular.
Yeah.
Yes, for the gameplay.
Because playing TVs made for or playing games made for a
Like a tube
CRT.
TV.
yes,
Yeah.
look awful on HD TV.
Yes,
very
they
true.
do. When it comes to the FMVs, there is a giant ball that was dropped. The character models themselves, the way the cells looked and everything else, it was on par with everything else when they upgraded the graphics. The background scenery of a lot of it, namely the biggest thing that really stood out was the end scene when Zidane was running through the Aoife tree, when he's running through and the branches and it's basically trying to attack him. Everything in the background pixelated as fuck. It totally stands out. It's like when you see Zidane running down the branches and whatnot, he comes through clear. I'll be honest, I was extremely disappointed by the rest of the actual moving graphics. The FMVs were pretty terrible at some points. I almost wish I could have, knowing that you guys played on PS1 and on the Vita, actually taking video of it, because if you look at it, you'd be like, they really fucked up there.
Because the FMVs on the PlayStation are amazing.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
on the
Yes, they are.
PlayStation.
And the Vita,
Absolutely.
the Vita's great too because
Because smaller screen.
It's a smaller screen, so it has HD capability, but it captures CRTV really well. So the Vita is one of the best ways I think to play a PS1 game, and have it look crisp.
Yeah.
But literally, that sequence that you just mentioned was the one that I broke down earlier, where you can tell it is one movie overlaid on an FMV,
Yes.
and it's fucking it's the most atrocious video in that game by far.
So that's the standard still between Vita and PS4.
Yeah.
I saw that, I'm like,
and I'm sure
ew.
it's on the original one too. I'm sure, because it's just the PlayStation 1 version that I'm playing. I had to change discs on the PS Vita.
oh really?
Yeah, you have to manually change the discs.
Yeah, you
Is
told
it
me
still
that, but
four?
that's
Is
odd.
it still 4 discs on?
Yep.
No
4
shit.
discs, even
Huh.
though it's completely digital, they still have that format because the
Check that out.
games request it.
Yeah.
So you
Ah.
just do it and you hit load, and it
Oh.
loads up the next disc.
PS4, it's fluid between all of them.
Of course.
I mean,
Of
I'm
course.
just saying.
I
it's
feel
for
like
the
that's
differences.
there's something to be said about that moment when you switch discs. It's like a very emotional outside of the game moment where it's just like, oh man, I just completed a
Yeah.
disc.
It's the meta. It's the meta feeling of
I missed it.
Yeah.
It's like I felt like I missed out on that because where am I in relativity to the actual original game? It's like where is this? Am I on disc 2? Am I on disc 3? There's nothing that tells you going through of where you're actually at.
So the character models, actually the whole, I'll just focus on the character models. Very jarring the first time you encounter. They're very distinct. And I think in a lot of Final Fantasy games, it's just almost like a copy and paste mold between the sprites, but you can't say that with this game.
Hmm.
They're very distinct character models. Like, not even the same shape, same colors. Like everything is just very unique to that character.
Except for Zorn and Thorn. They're basically the same,
Well,
just different
yeah.
colors.
They're
But
just color palettes.
Yeah. But other than that, yes. That's it.
Because, I mean, if you think, like, Final Fantasy VI, maybe they changed the clothes and the hair color, but other than that, they're the same character model. Obviously, it's a little bit...
It's the
early.
advancement of graphics, because that change first started in 7.
Yeah.
7 has a lot of different looking characters. Like Barrett is like this big hulking dude. Cloud's like, skinny with a giant sword.
Yeah.
Even skinnier with an even bigger sword is Sephiroth. You know what I mean? Like, in this one though, I will say, everyone seems like they're shorter. You know what I mean? Like,
They're all stubby.
Yeah,
They're
they're
all,
all
like,
like
stubby.
That's a good way to put it.
But they all retain that uniqueness, like you were saying. I think the design of the characters and the worlds in this game are like 95% flawless in being like exactly what I wanted. For me, though, okay, Amaranth's neck bothered me. The dude's a fucking giraffe.
He is.
He has a really long fucking neck and no chin. It's really weird.
Johnny No Chins.
The other thing that really bothered me was Zidane looked normal in the gameplay versions, and in the FMVs, he looks like a fucking petulant child. He looks like he's about to cry. Like they squished his face in all of the FMVs. I think he looks like just such a punchable fucking character. Like, it's just one of those faces that I would just be like, Jesus Christ. Like, and he doesn't look like that when he's like, in the game and speaking and stuff like that. But in the FMVs, he just looks so inhuman.
Inhuman, okay.
He looks like a fucking gremlin. Like, he looks like a fucking troll. It's weird. It's fucking weird. Because like, think about like Garnet. Garnet looks like a human.
Yeah.
She does, yeah.
And I know Zidane is technically not a human in this, but like
he's humanoid.
Yeah, his fucking face, he looks fucking dumb. I think he just looks fucking stupid, and like, I don't think he looks like his character model in the game, in the FMVs. Every other character, they line up. Fucking Steiner has his big, stupid, fucking square face.
His eyes are huge.
In his eyes, yeah, he's got the huge eyes. But
huge eyes and frumpy face.
It's in that. It's the same thing in the FMV and the character model. Zidane, again, looks like a Japanese anime character in the character model, and then just this weird face in the FMVs. I don't know. It just it was jarring to me, and it always took me out of it. I was always like, God, I just want to fucking punch him. That was honestly my only gripe with the graphics.
Yeah, I like the world, like the look of the world. I think it's fantastic. I like the mist. I like for the most part, it's like a medieval type of setting with a little bit of futuristic sprinkled in.
A little
kind
bit,
of
yeah.
thing. I wish Final Fantasy would go back to its roots and just go medieval age again. I like it.
It's been a while.
It has.
It really
like
has.
They just keep pushing this futuristic design. How much more futuristic can we make it? It's just, I just would like to see them change. Like, I don't know. I like the feel of it.
It's been a long time since they did something like that.
Bring back the fantasy part of Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 15 was like, well, 13 was like all futuristic, right?
Oh yeah, even off-planet futuristic.
And
like,
then and then it seems like they tried to make a modern Final Fantasy with like some mild
15 was kind of
futuristic-
modernish.
That's what I'm saying with
Yeah.
15.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. So maybe they are changing their tone a little bit. I don't know. The futuristic stuff, it was getting old. Like I like when they hop around. You know what I mean? Let's visit a completely fresh world each time instead of just revamping the previous one.
Yeah. It's like, here's the package, I'll repurpose it, here you go again.
Tell me that's not a punchable fucking face.
Yeah, that one looks...
Yeah, it's a punchable face.
Right? And then
I'm gonna save you, man, I have a tail, man.
Compared to his character model, he looks normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He looks normal.
Except for the giant hands. I mean, that's
Well,
another
yeah,
thing
but
they had in this game.
That's like that's like artistic flair and design. Like, that's fine. I'm fine with that. it's just that he has two different faces in the FMV and in the game, and that really just bugged me. But Amaranth's a fucking giraffe, so it's whatever.
Rooster giraffe.
Giant sperm.
Rooster. You know what? I think we really covered what we had to on graphics, so let's head into music.
Did we cover it with Mist?
So much Mist.
Music.
This is my favorite soundtrack in the Final Fantasy franchise. Favorite, well-rounded, because there's maybe one or two tracks I don't like in this game. One is the Marsh song that's like dum 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 dum. Like that song drives me fucking bananas.
You get all froggy and start jumping around and shit.
It's a good pun because Zendane's a monkey.
I can't remember what one of the other songs was, but everything else I really like. Like when I was doing overnights for work, I was listening to music and I would bounce between the different Final Fantasies. 9 was the one I wanted to go back to the most.
Yeah?
Like even what?
No, you were like, when I was doing and you like scratched your nose and I was about to be like, cocaine. When I was doing coke, man, all I wanted to listen to was the Final Fantasy IX soundtrack.
It's just so good. Like that first song that kicks in when you hit the menu, the Burmecia theme, like I know. It's just, I think the music is just top notch in this game, and it was like a really good send off for like Naboo. Just is his
Naboo
Uematsu.
Oh,
like his last soundtrack that was fully him. What a great way to like end it here.
I always was a fan of the Tetramaster songs. Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously the fact that we could sit here and just kind of like go over and like the tunes are in our head did a really good job. I mean, it stuck through, and I'll agree. It was a very, very well done soundtrack. I think it really caught some of the emotion for some of the scenes. I'll give it like 85-90% of the game. I mean, I wouldn't change any of the music. I think it was pretty much like on point.
Yeah, the world map song, like when you're the character model moving from like area to area, it's like this is like weird. It's like a synthesized sound. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Damn, that menu music when it's like flashing the different characters and then they're like a quote underneath their name and whatnot. I'm just like, what a powerful like just menu. Like just a menu. It's just, I don't know, fantastic. I love this soundtrack.
I can't fault any of the music here. I think it's all really like, just it's masterful. It's just as powerful as all the other Final Fantasies before it. I don't know if it's my favorite. I think I like 7's a little bit better. But like 7 has like some of the most epic. 7 has the iconic battle theme to me of Final Fantasy.
I think 7 does have one of the best battle themes. Like the regular battle theme, it's amazing. It is absolutely amazing.
So much so that like 3 or 4 games after that, they were still trying to like harness what that battle. And I mean, I know it's like iteration after iteration of the battle music, but like 7's is just on point. And I feel like the battle music is just little iterations of that further. So that's all I have to say about the music.
No, fair.
The voice acting is fantastic.
Yeah. Spot on.
That's the last Final Fantasy without voice acting. Oh, no, wait. 11. 11 didn't have it, did it?
No, but again, I don't
It had
think
a narrator.
Did it?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess it...
But that doesn't count.
I
It's an
still
MMO.
wouldn't count it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a different entity all in itself.
Yeah.
All right, well, you know what? We hit the nail on the head, so let's progress on and get into some final thoughts.
Final thoughts.
I was very happy to actually have the opportunity and a reason to play through this game again and actually beat it. I know I said it at the top of the episode that this was one I almost missed out on, and if it wasn't for, this being brought to the table, I never would have actually gotten to experience it. And I think if you're a fan of any Final Fantasy, this is definitely one on the list that you need to play, because I don't want to call it a classic just because it's 9, but when you're talking about, I think when you're getting into some of the height of some of the Final Fantasies, you can't miss out on this one. You would be doing yourself a disservice if you did not play this, if you're a fan of one of the game in the series at least.
I mean, just referencing back to the Mubbers episode where we ranked them, this was my number 2. So I think it's one of the best Final Fantasy games out there. I think the story is not up to par with some of the other stories, but when you take the whole package into consideration, there's just so many points that you just knock out of the park. Like the soundtrack, the characters, the gameplay. This is one of my favorite gameplay, like, because there's certain aspects of 8 I don't really like. There's certain aspects of 7 that I don't really like. This one, I love everything about it. And it doesn't lose that, like, tactical aspect. Like, I like when they force you to have a certain party, and those party members aren't amorphous blobs where you can just mold them into any other character. They have very distinct strengths and weaknesses, and you have to work through the battle using those characters. I like that. I love that. It's just like with some of the other characters, you can easily just bulk up their equipment, or you know what I mean. Like there's no way around it. You got to work with these characters to get through those obstacles, and I love that. So I give this game an enormous amount of praise, and I think it'll be reflected soon.
Yeah, Clark Main.
So I said at the top in my initial impressions that once I finally played this game that I loved it, and I did. I ranked it 3rd of all of the ones that I've played. It beat out 10, and I really liked 10. 15, go listen to the episode, get my full review on that. But then I realized that I spent most of the podcast like talking about my nitpicks, but it's because I loved every other aspect. So when you guys were talking about the things you loved about the game, that's what I loved about the game, and my nitpicks are really just a personal thing. And you can agree with me. It's not going to change the 40 plus hours of amazing content that are in this game. And I'm excited to get to the scores.
Generally speaking, though, this is a shorter Final Fantasy.
It is.
And when you say like 40 hours, you could do basically everything in the game, like even the
side missions and all. Yeah,
absolutely. Like really grinding out, getting all abilities, doing all the side missions. Like you could really get the full package in like 40 hours.
Or you can play about 7 hours of Tetramaster, which is pretty much what I did, because my completion time was 40 hours. I did barely any side stuff. I played a lot of Tetramaster.
So much Tetramaster.
Wow, okay,
I am a Tetramaster.
Oh shit!
There you go.
All right, guys. Well, let's get to what we've been waiting for all night, the score.
The score.
I'll go first. This is a bye for me. I think anyone that is a fan of JRPGs, Square Enix games, Final Fantasy games, RPGs in general, good stories, I think it is a bye for anyone that likes any one of those aspects.
Cool.
I'm going to follow up to that. This is an A. Outright. This is an A, hands down. If you have the opportunity, go get this game. Hell, I'm going to steal Clark's. Go buy this game. If you can find a way. If you have a PS4, go on the PlayStation Store, drop the money for it, and just do yourself a favor and play this fucking game.
I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10, which is going to tie with The Last of Us.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. Make sure you tune in for our next episode of Silent Hill 3. Thanks again for tuning in, guys. I hope you enjoyed this not-so Final Fantasy of ours.
Check us out at patreon.com/superfunpodcast or hop on our page at facebook.com/superfunpodcast and give us a like.
Yes.
And you can find us on Instagram at superfunpodcastgo.
Find us, like us, enjoy us, bring into your life.
Search us out.
Search us.
Stay sexy.
Yes, love you guys.
Game over. Game over. Game over.
Thanks for listening to Super Fun Game Review Podcast Go. Stay up to date on our Facebook at facebook.com/superfunpodcast.